Hello, welcome to Flower Juice. My name is John McDonald, and today we're going to make an arrangement that is a long, low table arrangement. And we're just going to use a nice variety of garden materials, but also a little bit of commercial material, which is this lovely trachelium. So I've got a real mix of different things, but the main thing that we're going to do is we're going to use a nice flat bowl. Now, I have this, it sits in my sideboard. We've never bought a fish in our lives to have in this, with head and tail. So this is going to be great for this because it's a stoneware dish, it's got a nice bit of weight, and it'll be just perfect for holding water. Now this is actually made by Highland Stoneware, which is based in Scotland, and it's really beautiful pottery. So we're going to use our mesh brick basically as the mechanic for this design, and just to stop it from moving around, I'm going to use a little bit of tape just to hold it in. Now, I don't need to, I'm not going to tape it across the way, because then if you were sitting at the table, you might see the tape, whereas actually doing it at the end works better. And because by the time we add our material, it's really going to disappear. So now this is totally secure, it's not going to move around, and this is perfect. So the first thing we need to do is add some water. Now we could put in some water now and we could just top it up. We could also put in some water and then pour out what's there and then refresh, so that if there's any little bits floating around, we essentially get rid of them. And that's quite a good idea, like that little bit there. But as long as we've got enough water in it while we're making it and our material is going straight into water, that's the main thing. So, as I say, I've got quite a mix of different materials here, and we're just going to create a long, low arrangement. Now, I must make sure that the flowers actually go into the water. This is the thing with this brick, is it's not the same as using foam. Essentially, we will have to bring our material over and make sure that the stem does go in water. And that's not a problem. We can do that. And we can do that by adding a bend. I'm very wary about saying that, because every time I say that, I end up breaking the stem that I'm holding, which is not a good look. So, as you can see, I just helped that have a little bit of a bend, and that really made sense. I've got some nice hostas, and this is going to be an all-round design. So I've put one of our cameras up high, so that, or higher than normal, just so that hopefully you can really see from above how it's actually all coming together. So I just went into the garden and had a look for different materials. So we want quite a nice natural design, and I know I'm using this wire brick, and this was something that we've suggested that you could make and that you can use again and again, and that's really important, that things are reusable. So for working in maybe a hotel or in a situation like a church where you're constantly making arrangements, probably in the same containers, you can make a brick like this or a block like this to suit your purposes, suit your container, and then use it again and again. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you can't make this type of arrangement in floral foam. It's just it's better for the environment if you can steer away from the foam. I have to say I'm not against foam from the point of view of designing with flowers, because it really does do a great job, but from an environment point of view, it's not so good. So I hope that we get, at some point, a version of foam that is basically really eco-friendly, like truly eco-friendly. That would be brilliant. Now, so what I'm doing is I'm just creating a big base with our foliage. So we're getting the length, we're also hiding the container a little bit, and we're making a little framework for our flowers. And I'm really just creating a nice framework with our foliage for our flowers to go in. So I don't have a lot of this darker foliage, so I'm just putting that in a conservative way so that we basically get the best use of that. Again, things like ivy, we can quite easily bend it. So we've had some really nice comments lately, and I'm really glad to hear from everyone as to what they think, what they, any questions that you might have. And it's really good to hear that some people have been inspired to actually have a go with flowers. I keep saying this, but really flowers are quite therapeutic to work with, or foliage, plant material, and it can be a great way to relax, as well as creating something nice for your house. So, flower-wise, I've got some beautiful roses, but I've also got these quite strong alliums as well, so I'm going to put them in relatively early on. So you can see that this framework that we've created really allows me to position flowers as if it was just going into foam. I've got some nice lavender here. And lavender, not only is it going to bring a beautiful smell to our design, but it's creating a little bit of movement and a little bit of space as well. This is the problem with a large design, is getting it to turn without taking everything out. So let's have a look at our flowers. So we've got these beautiful pink roses. I also have a slightly darker one. I don't have a lot of roses in the garden. It's not something that I like to grow particularly, but I like to see them. When you see nice roses, it is a beautiful thing. But these ones I just think are lovely. These are growing outside at my front door, beside my grapevines. We've actually had a lot of rain in the last week, and that's been really bad for battering everything. So if these look a little battered, it's because of the rain. Beginning to move these. I must admit, I'm always amazed when I watch other people working, and sometimes people just have everything going on, And I think, how can you see what you're doing? You actually need to have the space around the arrangement that you're making so you can see how it's looking and how it's looking in total, not just the little bit that you're working on. So these bigger roses are just perfect for coming more central. Now, because this foliage is really nice, I can actually use the rose foliage in our design. And it kind of makes sense if you've got roses to actually use some of that foliage as well, because the connection's already there. And really now we've got our structure, we've got our frame, we've got our main roses in. Now is really just a time for the details. So I'm looking at just starting to fill in some of these holes or gaps. And one of the best ways for that is going to be our trachelium, which is just beautiful. So I thought this would be quite nice with the dish that I used as well, but we're not really seeing much of the dish. But that's okay. And like here, I've put the trachelium in quite low. That's good. A bit of recession works quite well for taking the eye in, but it also will help hide any gaps. And you can use little pieces like this, which have got like a little branch. We can bring that in as well. You do want to make sure that you don't have foliage under the water level. So the reason for that is it will tend to make the water go off a little bit, and your arrangement won't last as long, or you will need to do water changes more often. I just love this trachelium. Yeah, this is my other rose that I have. And some of the flowers are just beginning to pass, so we can take them off, but it's a little spray rose. I think what we'll do is we'll aim to put this centrally into it. I'm not going to use you. So this is really a celebration of different flowers that I have in my garden and can make use of. But you might have something totally different. Now, we do have people who watch our videos from all over the world, and I love seeing what flowers you have available. It's amazing what ones that I would consider to be a house plant, you'll consider to be a garden plant. And I love seeing that. So you just need to really see what you've got and what will work for you. And you can make a long low arrangement like this, or this idea, but with tropical flowers. It doesn't have to be this kind of soft, temperate climate sort of flowers. It could be tropical, but essentially your method will be very similar. So having a strong base with a bit of weight in it, creating some sort of mechanic that you can use to hold your flowers, whatever that may be, decide which one is best for you. And then just creating a framework with your foliage, and then your main flowers into there. Now, I did find just a couple of little sweet william. I actually had quite a lot when we moved into this house, and it all seems to have moved off and gone elsewhere. I'm not quite sure. I think that could be my fault. I'm not very good at recognizing what things are when they're really young. So the problem with that is that you tend to pull things out. And I did that the other day. Someone gave me back some beans that I'd kept seeds off. So they were runner beans. I kept some seeds, and this was about 3 years ago. And I gave them a packet of the bean seeds, and they said, "Oh, we just came across them because they'd moved house. Do you want them back?" And I thought, well, I don't think they'll last. But I put them in, and they've come up. And unfortunately, I just dotted them around thinking they weren't going to work. And I did weed out about 3 plants and then realised halfway through pulling them out what they actually were. So, everything now at this stage is really just little details, and it's what you want. So what you need to do is just take a little bit of time just to go around, double check that you're happy with everything. If there's any gaps or anywhere needs a little bit of something, now's your time to do it. What I've tended to do as well is try and work things through. So what I mean by that is I've got a couple of ferns here. What I've done is I've basically followed that through from this side through to this side. Same with the hostas, from that side to this side. And the same with this mock orange, from this end to that end. And that way it looks much more natural. It looks like the material is growing and is coming through. So there we go. We've got a long, traditional, but not traditional in the sense that it's made in a different way. We're not using foam, but a real celebration of like garden materials and what you can do with them. And this would look great on a really big dining room table. So maybe for a function, for a party, ideal for that sort of big table where you can see it from all around. So essentially, a nice arrangement, not only to make, but then to enjoy afterwards. And all you have to do is just put your finger in the dish and just check the water. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have and you've not already subscribed, then click here to subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, then don't worry, just give us a like, because that really helps us in the YouTube channel. So all likes are great. And have a look through some of our previous videos. If you want to, you can have a little look at how to make this framework. I'll give you the link here. And it just shows you how to make this wire base that you can use again and again. So thank you for watching. We've got new videos every week, and we'd love you to join us for our next design.